I'm Haley DeYoung, and I am an expert on the GATE program. I was in the program myself, and I've done a lot of research on mind control and the various mind control programs, and GATE is definitely one of them. So if you're interested in this, be sure to like and subscribe if you're interested. It definitely helps. So today I'm going to share my experience after the GATE program and some of the commonalities that I have found in talking to people. Like a lot of you seem to have these experiences, which seem like normal, like teenage experiences. So I'm going to share my screen here and we are going to click on this mind map that I made. So this is mostly life after gate. And so as you can see here, I've had two near drowning experiences. So one of those was I was just going down a water slide with a tube and then I fell off at the end and I had to get saved by the lifeguard and had a lot of like water in my lungs and whatnot. And then I was surfing or learning how to surf, and I got knocked down by a wave and hit my head on the bottom of the ocean. And like that was really traumatic. And then I also had a fire incident. I was trying to cook French fries in my ex-boyfriend's fraternity, and uh, who I think he was my handler also, by the way. And I started a grease fire. Like nobody told me that the stove was faulty, and nobody told me that, or like I didn't know that you weren't supposed to put water on grease fires. Well, the water started going, like the sprinkler system started going, and it like blew up the whole thing. And everybody was really upset with me for a very long time because their kitchen was destroyed. So I've found a lot of gate kids also had fire incidents and near drowning experiences or just near death experiences in general. So from here, we're going to go up to self-destruct programming, which a lot of you, I'm sure, have. I'm sure that as we go through this, you're going to see a lot of similarities to your own life. So first of all, I had a lot of mental health issues. I have done so much like inner work and like healing from this as I've discovered that it was a mind control program. I'm feeling like I'm pretty good with these now, but I had a lot of rumination, anxiety, and depression. I had a lot of trouble with jobs. So I had trouble understanding appropriate behavior for jobs, especially in middle school and high school. And one job had like a weekly reminder, and it was of like, things not to do. And it was always all about me. Like they had to make up new rules for me all the time. There's also possibly some autism involved. I'm not diagnosed, but I suspect it, and ADHD. I was also fired a few times with no warning. And it kind of just seemed like they were waiting for me to do something wrong. Um, or like I would think that I'm on good standing with a job, and then I would like one time I tried to return for the summer after going for college, and I was like super shocked that they didn't want me back. Um, I had some adult jobs, and I had it's like they were fine until they weren't with with a couple of the jobs. So I was a teacher right out of college, and I was hired without any due diligence. Like they hired me, and I wasn't actually qualified for the job. And they never like asked for the qualifications, and so like I thought it was okay, but then all of a sudden it wasn't, and they were requiring those things, and I was going to be forced to get those qualifications and like pay for them and go through a bunch of testing, and I just couldn't. It was also a really shame-based religious background, and it caused atheism for me for a couple of years. And then I worked at a Boys and Girls Club, which I definitely don't recommend, and I got into a car accident there while driving kids. They made me drive out like on an icy road and well, with a group of kids, and so that was definitely like kind of a messed up thing there. And that caused a lot of strife with my coworkers too, because then everybody had to get like drug tested and they had to make a whole protocol for driving. And then I worked in a financial aid office at a university, and then this is where it kind of seemed it seems interesting, like spiritually, because this is where I kind of started coming back to God, and it seems like when I was more an atheist or like not following God's plan for me, everything was going really well in work. But then once I started to find God, like I woke up in 2020 and I got off birth control, and like I had just got promoted at work, and then I had all kinds of health issues. And then work turned on me. So there was kind of an interesting turn of events with that. I'm sure some of you will relate to that. I had a lot of trouble making friends. I know that I have some what I would call parts related to that would come forward and do dumb things to try to impress other kids. And I started getting in trouble in school, in middle school for that. I got in a lot of fights for speaking my mind. I didn't realize that you weren't supposed to say things that were on your mind. Um, and like some of the friends that were going to be good friend or kids that were going to be good friends with me kind of lost interest because I started getting in fights. I often just felt like I didn't fit in. And I had two friends that like I considered to be good friends, but I often acquired what I would call followers. People that wanted to hang out with me that I didn't really like, but like for some reason they really liked me. Um, and then I had a rebellious phase, stealing, very promiscuous with boys, and a lot of self-medication. Um, and then a lot of control issues as well. I remember telling my mom at one point that I didn't feel like I was in control of anything that I did, like I wasn't in control of my life, or that I wasn't in control of the decisions or actions that I took. I had an eating disorder. Um, and I also, so we'll get to this next. My parents were in Amway, and so when I should have been thinking about what I wanted to do with my life, I was just thinking about Amway, which essentially, like I can't say it nicely. It's just kind of a cult. So, and that might be its own video too, but it was definitely like there's a lot of programming elements with that, a lot of religious programming, and a lot of um, just strange dedication to it. I have heard that it's maybe changed a little bit, and maybe that's just I've talked to maybe two people who were also in Gate and were in Amway or parents in Amway. So my parents were in Amway. I was never really in it, but I went to a lot of the functions and I could see kind of what my family did with it. I was also in the Assemblies of God Church, which I have learned is related to mind control programs. They get a lot of like infiltrators and, to stir up like drama. But since they are often kind of more awake in the spirit, which is a good thing, I think that that also leaves them open to some corruption too. And there was like, I was completely an outsider there. There was a lot of purity culture stuff going on, which I think is common in a lot of churches. But I was, strangely enough, I that's also where I had my first assault and a couple after that. So, and then from here, let's see. This is a very long section, so I'm not going to go through all of this, but there's a lot of weird dreaming and astral travel stuff, and I'm just going to kind of skim through this so you can see. Looping sleep paralysis, mall world, hotel conference world, a lot of travel on trains, airplanes, rivers, roller coasters. There's like a world map. Strange amusement parks. There's like a crappy carnival and Disney in water parks. There is a couple of trinket shops that I often frequent, and gas stations where I often get caught by the intergalactic police, a truck stop in, a unique find shop. I get a lot of alien and end of the world dreams and vacation dreams, especially at the beach resort and especially at Vegas. There's often not enough beds in my vacation dreams. There are some water worlds. And of course, the school dreams. I have a lot of both college and high school dreams. And then I had a period where I was potentially groomed for modeling. There was a creepy guy at Best Buy who kept trying to get me to model. He was like a photography professor, I want to say, at a college, and he kept on trying to go and get me to model for him, inappropriately, completely inappropriate. I was like 17. And there was a lot of like almost involvement with modeling programs. Like I would get invited and I was like gonna go, and then my parents would be like, oh, actually, we can't. And then it seems like there was potential gang stalking. I kind of think it was related to my dad. There was a truck that would sit outside our house a lot. We had a lot of break-ins to our cars. I always had dreams that somebody was breaking into our house. Just that type of thing. There's a couple more incidents. I'll probably do a whole nother video on that too. So, and potential handlers. My grandma who has since passed And then my college on again, off again boyfriend who I totally had Stockholm syndrome for. So again, this is my life after the GATE program. And I guess one of the drowning incidents would have been before or during the GATE program. So how does that relate to you guys? If you relate to this, definitely comment, and just comment on everybody's and kind of see how you relate to everyone. I know on Instagram when I posted this, there was a ton of similarities. So it'd be really interesting to see if you guys on YouTube have this too.